Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. 100 years ago, Yeats wrote these words. It tells you, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Yeats was looking at a world that had been ravaged. 19 million human beings had died in World War I. But what he saw was a humanity that had lost belief. What he saw was a world that had lost conviction. What he saw was alienation. Today, if we think about the global crisis, I think it's important that we try and think deeply about what its roots are. What is the root of why people feel the way they do, feel as if they do not belong, feel as if their values are attacked? Well, I would submit to you that secular liberalism's not gift, but very, very bad effect on the modern world is alienation. People are alienated from belief. People are alienated from political culture. Alienation is one of the most significant factors in modern life. If we look at the Pew Research Center's findings on people's happiness, they're self-described, whether they feel like they fit in, whether they feel like they have belief, whether they feel like life is worth living. We see clearly people are alienated. Now, why is this important for our values? Why is this important for the family? Well, there is a falsehood at the root of secular liberalism. It is the idea that if we strip away tradition, if we strip away the accretions of history, if we strip away nationality, if we strip away the family, that a new man will emerge, and this man will be free. Secularization theory told us from the 50s to the present that as countries started to embrace the idea that there was no God, this would be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Belief should diminish and diminish and diminish. There were whole schools in history departments around the world, including my alma mater, devoted to talking about the fact that if we keep stripping away, this new man will emerge and he will have no need for God. So the global crisis is a crisis of alienation. It is a crisis of a lack of belonging, of a feeling that there are those who do not represent us, that we have lost our voice. The truth is that at the very root of secular liberalism is another lie, and it's based on the paradox of relativism. The moment that I say there are no absolute truths, I've just uttered an absolute truth. And so, when we look around the world at governments, cultures, societies that claim that they are ushering in this new age of this new man, free from history, free from culture, free from tradition, free from the burdens of family, they don't act as if everything is relative. In fact, just as Nietzsche predicted, they act as if only their truth matters. And those of us who do not believe in this new man, those of us who do not believe that history, tradition, family, culture, nation are things to be stripped away, we are treated as pariahs. The real absolute truth is that we cannot be allowed to speak. This is the great paradox of secular liberalism. An ideology that tries to say that it believes in freedom does not allow freedom for those of us who disagree with its main presuppositions. This is why when we talk to one another, we all have a feeling of closeness, of bond, because we have all seen the other side attempt to silence us. Now, thus far, I've spoken in pretty negative terms, but I'm actually quite optimistic. Because the thing is that, as Augustine said, our hearts are restless until they rest in you. Alienation doesn't last long. People find something to believe in. When people cease believing in God, it's not that they believe in nothing, they believe in anything. But this process of any alienation is part of what is now allowing a new form of politics to emerge. I will give you two examples. We just had the World Congress of Families in Verona, Italy. Anyone that was in Italy or in Europe probably read about it. Every major newspaper, every television station, everywhere, they were talking about how these quote-unquote bigots were meeting in Verona. I could not believe what the press was saying about us. Lies, lies, and more lies. But guess what? The people of Europe didn't accept all of these lies. Instead, when we went in to the Congress, we had we expected maybe 5,000 people would march with us at the March for the Family. They're saying there were 20,000 people marching with us. The place that we had the event could fit, we were told, 640 people. There were 1,200 people that came and paid to be a part of this Congress. All of the best laid plans of the left only meant that more and more people stuck their heads up and said, I want to be a part of that. I don't trust what the media is telling us. This is true for Trump's election. This is true for Brexit. This is true for so many phenomena that the liberal media can't explain. What has happened is that as people feel alienated from an established political class, they're looking for new answers. They're looking for ways to answer the deepest questions and longings of the human heart. They realize that there's something important about family. There's something important about belief. And what we're witnessing is, in many countries, a resurgence of religious belief. The exact opposite of what secularization theory told us. On my block, my wife and I, we have 9 children. So that's pretty extreme, I guess. But on my block, there are 5 families with 4 children or more. They have decided that what they were told was not true, that true happiness comes from the family, true happiness comes from belief in God, and they will not accept what are supposedly their elite betters telling them is truth. This is true also in country after country that has attempted to redefine marriage. It is not the people that are doing this. Usually it's the courts. So secular liberals say they believe in democracy, but the minute that the people vote, Proposition 8 California, even in California we won by 52%. When we win, is there another vote? No. Let's just take it to the judges and force this on everyone. It's no coincidence that it was not long after the judges forcing this on countries that you see big changes. My second point, and I'll be brief, is the emergence of populism. Now, I understand that there are those that are quite critical of populism, but my view is populism is a reaction and is also it flows from alienation. People do not trust the elites anymore, so they're taking it into their own hands. Now, there are good forms of populism and bad forms of populism. But the establishment, whether in the United States or Western Europe, has refused to listen to the people. We have parties that say they believe in life, but will do nothing to advance life. We have parties who say they believe in the family, but the minute they get in power, they do nothing to advance the family. People are fed up with this. And this is why new parties are emerging, new movements are emerging. Some will be good, some will be bad. This is why we titled the World Congress of Families Wind of Change, because something new is emerging, and we are all a part of it. Instead of sitting back and only complaining about the forces arrayed against us, and I know what they are, Open Society Foundation, George Soros spent $450 million in Hungary, $59 million in Moldova, hundreds of millions of dollars in Latin America, $18 billion he just gave to keep going. So I'm not looking at this through rose-colored glasses, but I do know one thing, that every great change in history has taken bold, courageous leaders who are willing to confront the powers that be and not relent. I'm most proud that none of the politicians that agreed to come and speak at the World Congress of Families Verona backed out, because I knew what the other side was doing. They were trying to make an example. And once one backed out, there would be another and another, and we would be pushed to the side. Instead, people stood up. I don't know the future, but I do know we live in a time that God has placed us in. We live in a time where we have the chance to change history together. I don't care whether it's 100 of us or 1,000 of us. We share the same beliefs. We know what is true. Let us march forward in history and refuse to relent on what is most basic, what is most true. That is the family, that is life. Thank you.
Thank you very much.